How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. My name's Dylan, and today is a special day because we are going to be taking a look over one of my own personal decks. I'm not trying to overinflate my deck building capabilities, but I mean, I remember I asked y'all a while ago what you wanted to see, and this is what you told me, you know? So today we're going to be taking a look at one of my, I don't want to say favorite decks. It's not mine, but I do enjoy playing this deck. This is my Braids Group Hug deck. It's Group Hug until I say it is. Well, no. It's Group Hug entirely. With Braids, I did not include any of the Eldrazi. I did not include a Jin-Gitaxias. I didn't do anything. This is all a very nice deck. And for those of you who don't know, I actually took apart my Azami deck, which if anyone has played against, those who played against it hated that deck. So I built this kind of like ironically. I don't even have an Azami in this deck, even though it could use some of the card draw, which I find kind of ironic. With all that said, let's get into it. So when I first started building this deck, I asked myself, what is the one thing that people like to do most in all of Magic the Gathering? And the answer I came up with was quite simple, you know? They like to do what my Azami deck did and draw cards. So, of course, we have things like Dictate of Kruphix, Kami of the Crescent Moon, Font of Mythos, Howling Mine, Well of Ideas, and Forced Fruitional in here, which most of these at the beginning of each player's draw step, they draw an additional card, such as Well of Ideas, Howling Mine, Font, Kami, and Dictate. What Forced Fruition does is whenever they play a spell, they draw 7 cards, which I think is just absolutely brilliant because it's just one of those things that is just like awesome, you know? We also have Psychic Corrosion in here for whenever I draw cards, just because I think it's kind of funny. Most notably, what we can do, though, is we can copy what all of these we have on the board. So they can draw 14 cards, and they can draw... The cards went off. Oh, well. They can draw 14 cards, they can draw 21 cards, they can draw an absurd amount of cards. Now, I won't lie, in this deck, I play with good cards. I just want my opponents to be able to have them. So, like, I have Teferi's Ageless Insight, Alhammarret's Archive, and Thought Reflection all in here, right? But, you know, I want to give it to my opponents, and all I ask in return is for me to have a chance to play with some of their toys, you know? So we have things like Switcheroo, Cultural Exchange, Corrupted Conscience, you know? You just got to be a little funny sometimes. Puka's Mischief, you know, they can have my Alhammarret's Archive. Shrewd Negotiation, I don't mind if they take my Teferi's Ageless Insight. Ledgermane, because why not? A Perplexing Chimera, because it's like a funny little troll thing, and people just love having something they didn't ask for. Wrong Turn, because, you know, Consecrated Sphinx is in here, and I know they just like drawing cards, as well as Djinn of the Infinite Deceits, because, you know, we can exchange control of them, you know? I just like that idea. Another thing I also like to do is, like, whenever I'm playing up against a token deck, or just really any deck in general, I like to make a copy of something like this Sphinx. Or maybe a Perplexing Chimera, but, you know, I'd rather make a copy of the Sphinx or something that draws more cards because I just know that my opponents love drawing cards. And then lastly, we just have to ask ourselves, how do we ultimately win with this deck? Well, my favorite thing to do is play Temple Bell and Mind Over Matter. It gives my opponents a fair chance to end the what's it called? End the loop, you know? Basically, you tap Temple Bell, draw a card, you untap it by discarding a card to Mind Over Matter, and then you repeat this process over and over and over again until you discard something like an Ulamog and shuffle your graveyard into your library. It's such a loving way to go out in a game of Magic, and I can't think of anything better to do. Like, honestly, I won't lie, there is a backwards card in here, and it always represents an Ulamog. It never comes in with Braids Trigger. It just prevents us from drawing our deck. On the topic of drawing our decks, sometimes our opponents have enough cards in hand to where Windfall is a good win con, especially if we have Labman on the board. And, you know, even going back to that Created Sphinx, you know, we have that. We have Labman. We play Windfall. We pretty much win the game. And now, because of this, though, people are probably going to be wanting to go after us, to which I say, Galecaster Colossus is a great way to protect your board, because there's a lot of wizards in this deck, you know? You gotta be constantly vigilant, you know? Where's some more wizards? We got Thassa's Oracle in here somewhere. Labman is a wizard. Let's see, Archaeomancer, because sometimes you want to make another copy of stuff. Where is it? There's just a lot of ways to win this game by drawing cards. It's people's favorite way of going out in all of Magic history. And then there are some ways of being political with Braids' triggers, such as Vanishing and Vodalian Illusionist. It's just a nice little way to make other things, you know, phase out. So Braids goes from being on the battlefield to not being existence. Or, you know, you can just enchant another person's creature, and then you can also make another person's creature phase out. And, you know, you can, again, kind of protect your board. And then lastly, one of the most group huggy things about this deck, you know, people just absolutely love. It doesn't even involve the cards in the deck, but the sleeves. The sleeves of the deck is what people really love about it. Like, everyone loves Cowboy Bebop. Everyone loves Faye, Spike, and I forgot what this dude's name is. I know, it's been years since I've seen the show, but more importantly, I always have a pregame action whenever I play with this deck. It's practically a ritual at this point. The pregame action involves.
Time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's play. Like, how can you not love to play against this deck with such an awesome pregame ritual? So yeah, there you'll have it. That's a tour of my group hug deck. Real quick, I figure I should end this off on a funny story. So, one time my friend and I were both playing group hug decks against 2 other people, right? I had Braids out on like turn 2, maybe? My friend decided to play Mana Flare at the same time. So with double mana, I threw down a Caged Sun, and then by the time so I had triple mana, right? I had a Gauntlet of Power in my hand. I threw down that as well on turn 4. I also got an Omniscience out on that turn after giving my friend a Consecrated Sphinx. So with all the cards in my hand that I had, I threw down a Labman and then a Windfall. My friend decked himself. Everyone else at the table had no cards in their library, and I won the game. Yeah, turns out 2 group hug decks against each other is stupid. So yeah, thank you all for stopping by at my first tour of one of my own decks. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and as always, you have a good one.